Good evening, everyone. Tommy, hold it down back there, will you? Tommy, hold it down back there. Good evening. Thank you for taking very valuable time out of your lives to spend with us tonight. We're really looking forward to getting your feedback. We're going to get you out of here by... You can't hear it? I can hear it now. Oh my gosh, I'm going to eat it. Okay. So we're going to get you out of here by 8 o'clock because I got to go to Little Rock very early in the morning, and some of you have to look after kids, and others have other commitments, so away we go. There will be a number of speakers. I'll kick it off with a couple of slides, and then we'll get to the experts. We've got Aaron Rushing, who's the Executive Director of Trailblazers. We've got Jenny Burbridge from the Ecological Design Group, and then Tom Judson on behalf of the POA is also going to speak. Everybody is going to get an opportunity to provide feedback. You've probably wondered what that overlarge postage stamp is in the middle of your table. That's a feedback sheet, and Tom's going to talk about how this is going to work. So, I know I have 2 council members here. If you'd rise, please. There's Linda and Doug Fowler. If you're a member of the POA board, would you please rise, wave, or otherwise do something? All right, good. And if you're a member of the POA Recreation Committee, would you also stand and be recognized, please? Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. This meeting is being recorded and also web streamed live so that we can get as many people involved in this as possible. Okay, I'm going to give you an overview of the Razorback Greenway. Many of you already probably travel it. My son and grandsons and myself travel it. I once tried mountain biking and I ended up in the bottom of a ravine, so I stick to the hard trails. It's 37 miles long. You can see that it connects 6 downtowns and all the schools, arts, entertainments, U of A, etc. There is the main artery, but the plan is also to reach into neighborhoods so that they can connect and ride their bikes and come over here, and that's one of the reasons to talk about tonight. Because in the original plan, which I have up here, we had a spur going up. And the thought behind it was, wouldn't it be nice if parents and kids could actually ride bicycles and come to school? And then we're also working on the bridge going over Little Sugar Creek to put a bike path there so that they could actually ride their bikes and come down and shop at Little Sugar Creek, and the farmers market will be down there, etc., etc. There's the map. It's a little hard to see from where you are, but there are some copies available. It's very extensive. It's been funded by the Walton Family Foundation, as have the soft trails, including our back 40 and the 1100 that's currently under construction. And the next one, Tom. This is a picture from August of last year when we actually opened the first bit of the extension of the Razorback Greenway into Bella Vista. It extends from the Wall of Honor to the school here, and that's basically on the Bentonville side, and then we pick it up here and it goes into Bowling Springs and it terminates at the very first parking lot as you drive in. So that's my piece. I'm now going to turn it over to Aaron.
Thank you. As the mayor mentioned, the Razorback Greenway, we opened it in 2015, okay? Right after we opened, we said, hey, this is a great spine, but now we need connectors. So we started diligently working at that time to how to make these connections. We finished one 2 years later on the south side of Rogers, south side of Bentonville, called Trail of Two Cities. We're looking at Rogers again on how to make connections to their downtown. So we've been, as part of our goal, now we've got the spine complete, now how do we make these connections? How do we connect to the rooftops? This is one that it really goes right through the heart of a lot of rooftops where some of our trails don't do that. So, go to the first slide. Okay, so I've been in Bella Vista since 2004, moved here in 2004, so I've watched it grow. I've been involved in the trail planning. I know that says December 13, but it actually goes way back before that, probably 2005. We started talking about a trail, how to get out to Metfield. You got Houston Road, it's fairly flat, there's plenty of area on the north side of it. 2010, some of you may remember, there was a water line that was built on the north side of Houston. Kind of the buzz started again, like, hey, we should put a trail down that corridor. It's wide open, they've cleared all the trees out. Let's look at this again. It got on a master plan in 2010. I don't think that master plan was adopted, but I was part of that planning process. I lived here at the time. Fast forward to December 2013, there was a regional planning push to get more regional plans done. It dialed into a city master greenway and trail plan that was adopted in 2015, March 2015. I've been part of this and watching all this develop and all the trails, the mountain biking trails, and it's been amazing being part of this. Bella Vista is very unique because we don't have sidewalks. With these trails, mountain bike trails, and the sidewalks we're doing it is a great amenity to the residents of Bella Vista. I've been happy to be a part of that. I see people out on the trails, walking and hiking, and they're happy, and I feel like I feel blessed that I'm part of that and be able to bring that to our community. This is the master plan. It's hard to see, but there's a yellow line that wraps around Lake Bella Vista, which we were part of. That was our very first Trailblazer project back about 20 years ago. So it's really cool to be able to extend that trail, go up. It goes along Manchester and then along Houston, all the way up to the Metfield area. It's hard to see. We'll try to get a better view of this. I think there's a better slide down in this mix. But I'm here to support it. Answer any questions here. I feel like I've been involved in the process a long time and I can provide some valuable insight.
My name is Jenny Burbage. I'm with Ecological Design Group. We're going to be the design consultants for this trail extension. Try again. So here are the basics regarding the Blowing Springs Trail Connector. In general, it's going to start at Blowing Springs Park, and it's going to go up to Metfield Park. It's about 2.93 miles in length. It's going to be a 10-foot wide concrete, easily maintained path. And lastly, as it's been mentioned, it's going to be the last link to connect Metfield Park to the Razorback Greenway. You can go to the next slide. This is a slide we mentioned we might come back to at the very end and blow up, but I have my handy dandy pointer, so here we go. Get closer. Okay, so for some context, north is up, and this is the highway right here. This purple trail is the existing trail that terminates at Blowing Springs Park. This red trail is the Razorback Greenway. Okay, so the trail will start and pick up where the existing trail has ended in Blowing Springs Park near the first parking lot. It will then go through the park, pop out on Manchester Road, follow the road, go along Houston, and then you take the left on Commonwealth and end at Metfield Park. We're only in the schematic design phase right now, so that is the intent of this map, and that's the purpose of this input session. And to lay out a couple of the amenities that are, strung along this path, we've got Metfield Park, which has the playground, pools, basketball courts, tennis courts, the clubhouse, the pump track. Also, the orange trails are all the soft trails around Blowing Springs and also the back 40. We've got Cooper Elementary, which we're in today, which would also be connected to it. We've got the soccer fields, we've got Lake Bella Vista. It's just a really good opportunity to connect many amenities in one fell swoop. We can go to the next slide. Let's see, so in general, the route's mostly going to follow along the road, staying within the public right-of-way, every once in a while meandering into POA common property. It will not encroach on any personal residential property. And of this 3-mile stretch, about half of the length will be directly accessible by residential parcels, and roughly 3,600 residential parcels are within a half mile of the trail. That's a lot. That doesn't happen very often. Go on to the next slide. The trail will be designed in accordance with AASHTO and MUTCD standards. These are nationally recognized standards for traffic design and traffic control. And we want to create a safe, enjoyable experience for the cyclist and or pedestrian. And this includes minimizing street crossings and minimal interaction with motorists in general. Safety buffers, striping, and other traffic calming measures will be considered through the design process. So, I think that's it for me. You ready?
I'm going to try and step forward and see if I can reduce some of the feedback that we seem to be getting on the speakers. So the next slide is regarding some details. The funding for the design would be provided through a grant from the Walton Family Foundation. That question has come up previously. So what we're looking at is effectively breaking the project into 2 pieces, 2 phases. The first phase would be the design work. So that's what we're talking about right now. Then the second effort would be to try and secure possible federal, state, or private grants to complete the construction phase. So that would be phase 2. So tonight, what we're really focusing in on is phase 1, not necessarily phase 2. There will be no additional cost to the POA or the city to do this project. Down the road, if it is constructed, the cost to maintain the concrete path, and I don't know if there's a lot of expense in maintaining a concrete path, but the cost to maintain it would be shared equally between the POA and the city. The grant would provide that it would be accessible to the public. Okay, now keep in mind that just a few feet away you have a road that is accessible to the public. Timeline. Okay, good question on that is, what are we looking at? To design it would take approximately 9 months. So that's phase 1. After that, we don't want to make any commitments at this time as to how long it would take to construct it. But the design phase, phase 1, which we're focusing on, would be approximately 9 months. All right, if this proposed project moves forward, the POA board and the city council individually, independently, would have to vote to approve a licensing agreement. So what we've done in the past with the back 40 and 11 under, there's been a licensing agreement that has been approved by both entities. And that would be required in this case also. But that's a little bit further down the road. That's under construction. We're still in phase 1. Okay, next part. Okay, we want your input. The name of this meeting is a community input meeting, and we need your input. So what we'd like you to do is, we've already broken you into groups, okay? What we'd like you to do, for each of these groups, almost every table, hopefully we have every table, has a representative of either the Recreation Committee, the Board of Directors, or staff. So if you are one of those people, please raise your hand so that people at your desk, at your table, know who you are. Okay, so that's almost everybody. What we would like you to do is take 15 minutes, and we'll mark that at the end, once I get done talking. We would like you to take 15 minutes. We would like you to discuss amongst your table pros, cons, questions, concerns, your input. Okay? We've provided you with a big piece of paper, a pen. We'd like you to write those items down. We would like you to elect a representative that's going to speak for your table, and when we're all done with the 15 minutes, we're going to go table by table and go around and get the input from everybody, and we're going to collect it all. Now, right now, Chris, our IT wizard, is recording this, so we can always go back and reference this, but we're also taking down all the information. Now, as we go around and we have the leaders giving us their comments, some of the items may be redundant. You know, this table and that table are thinking the same thing. So we may actually just use hash marks. Okay, this is the same concern has come up 2 or 3 times. We'll just track that. What we don't want to do is we don't want this table and this table and that table to have the same concern and then we belabor it for 5 minutes every single time. If it's the same concern, let's notate that this is a repetitious concern, but let's not belabor it. Okay? So we're going to take 15 minutes. Make sure you have a healthy conversation amongst your group. Name someone that's going to be in charge. The facilitator. All the facilitator is doing is to make sure you stay on topic. You start talking about the weather and how it's going to be windy tomorrow, they're going to try and encourage you to come back to the subject matter. Okay? They're not going to try and sway you in any way. So, 15 minutes from now, which will be 5 after. Thank you. Information. As we indicated, if we have an item that has already been covered, we will do a hashtag. We don't need to rewrite the same thing over and over again. I don't think I have to say this, but I am going to say this. We always want to make sure that we are respectful of other people's opinions. Okay? So let's be respectful. If someone says an opinion you don't agree with, that's okay. We want to be respectful. So we're going to start over here.
Go for it. All right, speak. And you guys, the microphone's got to be really close and go for it.
Okay.
State your name.
Ann Dahlke. Our first point was a con, and it was the 7 to 9 street crossings for safety issues for people crossing. Number 2 was a pro, and that was the safe way that we could walk in our neighborhoods. It would be easy for emergency vehicles to get to you if you needed an emergency vehicle. And then number 3 is that it also presents another form of alternate transportation. The mothers can get on their bikes with their kids, bring them to school. They can either go back home, or if they want to, they can go shopping at Allen's or do whatever. They don't need to take the car out of the garage. And number 4 was the terrain design challenge. You know, that was a con. As far as crossing the streets, you know, but that Jenny's going to answer sometime for us at some point in time. Those
right
are
behind
the 4 things that we have.
course, this table came up with a straight shot to the bars on Dixon.
Yeah.
And they came up with a straight shot to the bars at Dixon. Okay, that was not part of the homework assignment. Thank you, though. We will compare notes afterwards. Okay, who's going to be the leader here?
One of our top concerns was also safe crossing for kids, and would there be any monitors there to help, of which we did bring up the Safe Ride to Schools program, which is happening in Bentonville and other cities around Northwest Arkansas, and so hopefully we would be able to tap into the Safe Ride to School program to provide more monitors for the kids that would use it on the way down to Metfield. Another concern that was put up was the impact of drivers during construction, and to make sure that there was minimal impact on those because of just how busy it is up there. We spoke to the amount of 3,600 plus roofs over there, so there's a fair amount of car traffic, which I do think goes into your alternative transportation hopes. Another one was along that same line of safety, what are the patrols that are out there, and we do have a few mountain bikers here on the Bella Vista Police Force that are already doing some patrols, but would that be increased if this was created? And then another concern was tree coverage and planting, and what we can do to make sure that the ecology is not damaged, but actually promoted and encouraged to actually be increased out there. One of the pros was the access for 3,000 plus people to have within a half mile of the Greenway, which was a bonus, and to fill the gap between the mountain bike and road users here. It felt like it was a nice way to bridge that for everybody.
Okay, we thought that some of the pros would give children access to Metfield, and to expand the flowing springs usage. We also felt it made a safer commute. The cons, we thought that there needed to be maybe some expenses paid for bike racks, bike stations, and law enforcement along the road to some degree. We felt they need to come up with maybe some limitation on the hours. We don't know if this should be a 24/7 experience. And we also felt that maybe there should be a member vote on it when all is said and done.
Hello, friends. Okay, so I'm going to start with we only had 2 cons on this big piece of paper. One side is all pros. The cons were the concern over security at night, if there was going to be lights along the trail for nighttime riding and walking. And then maybe increased litter, because people just do that when they're on trails and things. Which led us to one of our pros, which was community involvement. We talked about having different things that we could announce for the whole community to do, like, we're going to do a trash pickup day, and then whoever wants to join in and go do that on the random day, do that. What else? Maybe expand the opportunity to display art in a unique place in the community and tie in the whole crystal bridges and whatever, and throw some sculptures and things along the trail.
That's a good idea.
And then get bikers off of main roads. And that's pretty much it.
I'm Kevin. Everybody at our table was very favorable about it, or neutral, and we have some questions. Will any of the new paths be on the same ground as the current dirt paths? In other words, the dirt path will go away and the new path takes over. And another question is, the pathway going to be completely 100% independent from all roads? In other words, they won't do something like they did down in Springdale or down there where you got a road and then all of a sudden there's a line that says, oh, here's the path. And then another question is, are there going to be any paths in a floodplain? Because there's a heavy runoff on Houston, if you've ever been through there, and sometimes it goes over the road and there's debris over the road. So what's the impact of the bike path going to be on that? And will it affect, it'd be like a dam sometimes, when the runoff starts going through, is the path going to create a dam for the water? And then the last one here is any additional trailheads for parking, and where will they be located?
most of our pros and concerns we covered already. We got a few on here. Overwhelming our table is four, but we have a couple concerns, just thoughts about it. We love the idea of the trails here. We love that that's got some flat terrain, so we can have multi-generational use. Most of us will be a flat trail through there, so that's good. We think it would increase property values in that neighborhood. We also think that the idea of not having to transport your bike to a trail, down here to Lake Bella Vista and get on the trail is a big pro. Some of our concerns we talked about the table. We did have more details about the provision for maintenance as far as debris on the trail or during that. If there was some flooding on there, get it swept off or whatever needs to be done. More details about that. We also was curious about the public access through Blowing Springs, how that would work, where sometimes they're kind of a gated area there, sometimes not. how that would work.
All right, so a lot of this stuff is, pretty much being echoed from table to table. One of our big concerns is the road crossings, obviously. If we're going to utilize this, sell this for our children to get to school or get to Medfield, we'd be concerned because especially coming this way, it's kind of a high-speed descent, so to speak. So the road crossings would be important to us. And lighting was also one thing we were concerned about. If anyone's been south of Dixon Street on the Greenway trails, they have nice LED lighting, just directional, shoots straight down on the trail, very aesthetically pleasing, no power lines or anything like that. That would be something to be amazing to see, as well as some of the parking lots having some of this lighting also. I think that would help with some of the safety concerns we've had. One thing possible too, as far as maintenance, like we do on the soft trail systems, might be able to adopt sections of it. I mean, a lot of people would just love to kind of control that section or clean that section. I think that would be a pretty easy thing to accomplish, just adopting those sections of the trail. Most everything we have is pros. A lot of stuff's already been touched on as far as safety of riders and pedestrians. Everybody would be happy to get the road bikes onto the greenway and off of the roads that don't have any shoulders. Opens to a larger demographic of users. Suitable location for paved pathway. That's one of the flattest transitions from that part up to down, to the lower part of Bella Vista. So it's a great position for the trail. Property values. We think it's a benefit. If you'll notice in listings for Bella Vista now, almost every listing says how close it is to a trail. So just to be that much more awesome to be able to say that you're this close to a greenway that connects you down to Cooper Elementary. So we think that's, it's just overall it's going to make for a safer community.
Thank you all. A couple of our concerns or positive attitudes might be when trees are removed, are they going to be replaced either on the site or elsewhere? Also, how many points of access there will be to the trail, particularly in Houston. The map provided is pitifully small. I can't read it. I'm not well versed with it. We need a much larger map that each of us can see what's going on, because that's useless. Also, there's a possibility of connecting interstate or to a much larger venue than we're looking at. It would provide ecotourism benefits, providing benefits also to businesses, a base for future development to build off of, as well as an aesthetic functional backbone for development. The corridor could also allow utilities to be placed within the corridor, on grade, adjacent to or below the path, instead of above and within the view. I think it offers great opportunity for future development to be more responsible in an aesthetic standpoint as well as a functional backbone to build off of. Thank you.
Hello, friends. Well, we have some pros and cons as well. I'll just start with our pros. We do, at this table, feel overall trails are great. They are healthy for families. This one would have a level surface, so in theory, people who struggle walking on soft trails, would have a place to walk. And trails have the potential to bring people together, which we think is a good thing. However, the cons are that in the suggested, what was suggested up here, that 9 people are deciding for the whole membership. And the whole membership does not agree with the trails. And so in an effort to bring people together, we're dividing our community. And that's a big issue. And I feel like a vote, whether or not we want this trail, if the majority votes to have the trail, then the minority just has to go along with that. I mean, we do that with every election. So I feel like that would, in general, just bring our community together a little better. Because right now, I mean, it's a hot button, and we're in trouble about it. I feel like our community's in trouble. Okay. There is an issue that wraps into using the common property. The question was asked, do we have enough trails already, and when does it end? When does it end? We've already heard we're coming around, and people now want lights on the trail, and who's going to pay for the lights, And so when does any of that end? There are lots of ifs. With this, we're going to ask the Walmart Family Foundation to pay for a design that we must be planning to execute, or we wouldn't be paying for design. I don't think they're going to give us $1 million for an if. So, or however much it is, I'm just throwing $1 million out there. They're not going to just pay for an if. So if you're going to plan and design, then have a plan. Where's it going to go? Like this gentleman said, we want to see a map that's big enough to read to see where it's going to go. So those are our cons. Currently, people are parking all along the street to take their bike on the grass, and they take their bike off, and then they're parked there for hours at a time. That's not safe for anybody, especially at night if you're driving down the road. So we feel like there's some safety issues with that as well, because people are not using the trailheads, all of the time. And we have the maintenance issue that the POA board continues to volunteer us to pay maintenance on trails that we're not allowed to vote on. So those are our concerns.
Okay, in an effort to keep us on track, this is eco-friendly growth, and Bella Vista definitely needs growth opportunities. Riding to school, I have a granddaughter who rides currently on the current dirt tracks on the way down to school. I'd love to see her on a 10-foot wide steaming track safely. And also we had several of the same ones that most have already mentioned. As far as pros, cons, it will have to be written into the budget for maintenance. So we will have to have this in ongoing maintenance, whether it's big or small, it needs to be considered. And also we thought that 9 months is way too long to design. Let's get the design done and let's see what we got in front of us. Okay, thank you.
Well, this table voted unanimously for the trailer. Sorry to get that there. Most everything has been covered, but a couple of things that we want to underline, and that is want to underline the crossings, because it looks like this thing's going to cross Houston about 3 or 4 times. That's a concern. I brought up the type of concrete that's going to be used up and down Houston, because I see people racing and zigzagging on the grass on both sides of Houston all the time. So that concrete's got to be thick enough and reinforced enough to handle a full-size pickup truck. Which brought up another issue. People at this table felt like a lot of those 3,600 rooftops, there's a lot of kids that live in those houses. There's a lot of kids that are going to be taking that trail to Cooper Elementary. And with the kind of high speed there is on Houston and that nice long run that there is, that some type of barrier needs to be put between the road and the trail on Houston. Okay? And the other thing was to lower the speed limit on Houston in that area. That trail is going to be built. Because 50 and 60 miles an hour is common on Houston. I drive it multiple times a day for 11 years. So that could be a really dangerous situation. We might get into some training for children and for drivers as well. The noise issue was brought up. Trash issue, I think, was addressed. Another issue was the parking lots and loitering, that sort of thing, and that's where your patrols would come in. But it sounds like the main thing that we're bringing up here is because of that long run on Houston, okay, that's a really dangerous situation for little kids that are using it for transportation to and from school. Kids are all right there. On the parents.
Okay. The things that we've had have pretty much been covered, so I won't belabor those points. The one thing that was different that we talked about a bit is not only does this trail connect Medfield to Cooper, but it connects many, many neighborhoods to each other. And so that way, especially kids who are in the junior high school age can get on their bikes and ride to their friend's house, and you don't have to take a car, and you're not dependent on mom and dad to drive you. And we think that's a really good thing.
Okay, we had, as one of the cons is the fact that Blowing Springs and Metfield are both private POA amenities, and so we had a problem with the public using this path. We're not against the path itself, but it should be paid for by the POA. There should be a sign up that says for use by POA members, and stickers on the children's bikes that say that they belong to Bella Vista. One of the positive things that we had was that it could possibly be attractive and people would move here because of the trail. We're a little bit concerned about the past meetings that have been held and the whole way that the whole trail system has been brought about. I know you say that it was widely advertised. We were not aware of it. We've lived here for a long time. My husband's family has owned property here since Bella Vista first was developed in the 70s. We are glad, though, that you've had this meeting for public input. And we're also concerned about, we discussed this at church on Sunday, where's it going to end? Like somebody else had said. You know, is not 100 miles of trail enough? People at church were saying everywhere you look, there are trails. So.
All right, so our table pretty much unanimously for the trails. Some of the points that we brought up. extra, provide safe travel for young and old people. I myself live off of Liberty, so I will have access to this with my 3 kids. Currently, we have to drive somewhere if we want to use the Razorback Greenway. Now we'll be able to safely access that. Property values, I think that was brought up already. It should increase that. Something else, it gives a quiet and shady, safe place for young people and old people to walk or ride bikes.
Good evening. Our table was mostly focused on safety for a lot of reasons that were already brought up. The separation from the road, flooding, crossings, just basically keep users nice and safe with respect to the road traffic that's going to be there. A new item that we brought up would be the coexistence of the trail with the golf course. There's a couple of holes there that would be adjacent, running in parallel with the trail. So not only the users need to be protected from golfers on the trail, but the golf course needs to be preserved as well. And there was a lot of good user projections, discussion on how folks would use the trail, getting down to the schools, recreating, being a good alternative to the soft trails, because a little bit less challenging to use than the soft trail is. And yeah, we'll wrap it there.
Good evening. I don't want to go over all things that have already been said, some of the other things. One of the key things we really liked was the fact that the trail could be used for people of all ages, kids, and high school kids, and older people, and mothers who want to take their kids for a walk in a stroller, so it's a good all-purpose effort. As far as a couple of cons that were already mentioned, as you know, there's not sidewalks in Bella Vista right now. One concern was the access, and that it'd be bringing a lot more people to the area, and would there be any safety or crime possibilities as a result of that? And that was pretty much it.
Well, we thought long and hard to come up with a con. We got a couple. So anything new, right? There's the cost. So of funding that new thing, as well as the ongoing maintenance. So that'll hit us. Many advantages. That's increased safety. Separating pedestrians and bikers from the automobiles. Good thing there. Access and connectivity, connecting all of us to nature, connecting Bella Vista to Bentonville, connecting kids between the homes, as somebody mentioned, and into school. Increased community, opportunity for growth, attracting more growth, the more safe sidewalks and trails that we have. And that's it.
I'm Dylan Shaddix, I'm the chairman of the POA Community Involvement Committee, and all of our pros were already said, but we did like the idea of more exercise for all the residents that live around this area of the trail. And I love what someone said about the volunteer efforts to make the trails maintained in the future. And it'll take the bikers off Houston Road. I know for myself, I love riding the Greenway, but so this way, I'll be able to go to Metfield, ride my bike all the way down to Boiling Springs and to Fayetteville, which would be awesome. One of the cons or concern was there enough room all the way up Houston, but now I see that it might cross Houston 2 or 3 times. And, can you hear me? Sorry. And one of our members said or asked if there would ever be a trail going to Dartmouth. And that's what we had.
Everybody keeps it fast.
Okay, this group, many of the ideas have already been mentioned. A couple that haven't, obviously the trailhead is most important. Is there parking, or do I have to walk back to where I parked? Habitat being removed as more trails are built, that was a concern. Misplaced or replaced habitat. Kids, active kids in the morning are better students during the day. They're more awake, they're more attentive, and so we thought that was a good idea. And level place for elderly to walk was a great idea. And that wasn't for me.
So our ideas have all pretty much been covered. We hit a lot on safety concerns and also what happens really between phase 1 and phase 2. This really seems like it's going to be drawn out a little while. And is there a risk of losing any funding between those phases? And then some of our real big pros were the property values, how they are really going up. And that no personal property is being taken away through this development. And that it's really family friendly and it's diversifying our community.
That was all for Roxy, correct? All that was for Roxy. She was awesome. So, couple things. Hopefully I don't get any feedback as I go in front of here. So, we're going to make this entire presentation, we'll post it on the POA's website tomorrow. You'll be able to go in, you'll be able to look at everything that we have up here. You'll be able to zoom in into the map. Also, if you can pass forward or just bring it forward when you're on the way out, your sheets, so we can collect it, because some of the comments we went through so fast. While Kim is a fast writer, I don't know if she was fast enough to capture everybody's. All of this information will be shared with the board of directors of the POA and with the city council from the city. I know that Aaron and Jenny and the mayor are going to hang out. I'm going to hang out for a little bit. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Drive safe.